Hi, William here again, and thank you for joining me again on my channel. So last week at the end of my video I mentioned we were going to be tackling some unfinished projects this week, and the first thing I found in the back of my garage was this rather large piece of cherry. Now I've little recollection of actually turning this piece and have no idea what was going through my mind when I started turning this shape. I suspect I lost the thread of what I was trying to do, and was also concerned about some checking cracks that were appearing in the wood as I was progressing. So 1 or 2 years later, however long it was, I have no idea, I picked this up and I think I can salvage something from it. Now, in seeking some inspiration for this piece, I turned to YouTube and found something similar in Gord Rock's channel. Now, Gord had a similar piece of timber, except it was plumb, also 3 branches, and turned a nice bowl from it. So I think I'll try and salvage this and produce something similar. Okay then, to get started we need to mount this back between centres, in fact using the original engagement holes. Okay, the piece is quite unstable and at the moment I can't get it to run faster than 300 RPM. So I'm just turning off some material from the base here to make a very large tenon to mount it in the Colossus jaws. Okay, after remounting it on the chuck, the piece is still quite unstable and causing a lot of vibrations. My lathe, the Axminster 1628, is not anchored to the ground, so you'll notice it moving in the video. Having got the outside roughed out and improved the stability a little bit, I can start to excavate the inside of the bowl now using my 1/2-inch Sorby bowl gouge. Now, when I reach the bottom of the natural recess of the crotch layout, I can drill a pilot hole to the base of the piece using a large Forstner bit. Now, the piece is beginning to take on an interesting shape, but there's a lot of material to be moved yet. So as I remove more material, the piece becomes more stable and I'm eventually able to wind the speed up to about 800 RPM. As I get nearer the base of the bowl, I'm going to switch over to my Hope 6mm hollowing tool, which should remove material a little faster. Now, a few weeks ago I treated myself to a little LED magnetic lamp from Wood Art products, which I've been using in my videos, which do help illuminate particularly the inside of pieces extremely well. Now, this little light has made it much easier for me to see what's going on inside, and also creates a better user experience for people watching my videos. Now that the excavation is almost complete, there's some very nice figure appeared in the base of this bowl. At this stage I'm going to use my Crown Cryo Revolution hollowing tool with a scraper attachment to try and get rid of some tool marks. Now, turning my attention back again to the outside of the bowl, I'm going to try and achieve a better finish with my big fat scraper. Now, the further I've got into this project, I've realised that the whitewood or the sapwood, especially nearer the bark, is extremely punky and in some places quite rotten. One of the most effective ways I've found to deal with such wood is to give it a severe dousing with copious quantities of pre-thin sanding sealer, let it soak in and leave it overnight to set. Typically this will allow you to cut the wood much cleaner and get it to a point where you can start work on it with traditional abrasives. So having left it overnight, it's quite firm enough to do some abrasive work the next day. Now, some projects are about the turning, some about the history of the wood, some about the finish, but this project is certainly about sanding, and altogether I will have spent about an hour and a half sanding this piece. Misery for me. Power sanding is something I normally try to avoid, but the shape of this piece leaves me with no choice. There is some repair work to be done on some minor cracks and some missing pieces from the rim. On the rim I used some sanding dust and some CA glue, and in the hairline cracks that have appeared in the wings of the bowl I used some thin sanding sealer and some sanding dust. To add a little character to this piece, I decided to stain what's left of the natural rim of the piece and the foot black. I'm hoping to repeat the effect that I achieved on a square bowl several projects ago, which turned out extremely well. So once I've got the intrinsic colour black covering the rim and the foot, I can now sand off the seepage and prepare it for sanding sealer. I ended up giving this piece 3 coats of thinned sanding sealer, denibbing between each coat before I gave it the final neat version of sanding sealer on the top. When the sanding sealer was thoroughly dry, I opted for several coats of melamine lacquer as a final finish. However, leaving the lacquer to cure overnight, in the cold light of the next morning I decided to rub back the lacquer and give it a coat of Hampshire Sheen High Gloss. I did this because I wasn't particularly happy with the finish from the lacquer, but I was very happy with the finish from Hampshire Sheen High Gloss. Again, because of the shape of the piece, I had to use a buffing pad on the electric drill to get a good finish. Having achieved more than an adequate finish on the piece, now time to think about parting it off. Now, because this piece is quite large and unstable because of the different sizes of the wings, I'm going to err on the side of safety and complete the parting process using a gentleman's saw. And finally sanding off the base of the piece and finishing it off with some sanding sealer. Okay, so there it is then, the finished natural edge Cherry Crotch Bowl. Aesthetically, not bad at all, and I do like the black rim. I think it works quite well. Not the most enjoyable project I've ever done because too much sanding. I don't know too many woodturners that enjoy sanding. So, what half-finished project have you come up with this week? I'm indeed about to tackle something that's half-finished. So what's that then? Some kind of exotic burr? No, it's half a bottle of Glenfarclas 17-year-old. Huh, I think you're going to need some help. Oh yes. Now, I was hoping to get both of these half-finished pieces in this video, but it wasn't to be. So next week I'll be tackling this Apple Union. I'm probably going to have to fill this void, which is going to be quite big, I guess using some resin again.